Welcome to the weekend. I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. There's a lot of stuff on the ballot this year, but with so many hot candidate races, governor, Senate, all those state legislative seats, there are a lot of proposals on the ballot that aren't getting as much oxygen as they should. One of them is the last thing on the statewide ballot, which is Proposition 102, which has to do with whether or not you need to get a bail bond when you're arrested. Now, I know you watch PBS, so there's a good chance you've been arrested for medical marijuana violations. So I thought we'd talk about that from Safe Streets, Colorado, which is the proponents of 102. Robert Tucker, thank you for being here. Trucker, I'm sorry, Robert. And the long arm of the law down in Arapahoe County, Grayson Robertson, thank you for joining us.
Hi, John, thank you.
Let me just throw this out. Before we get into the idea of what the proposal does, what is the law now? Because it's been a while since I've been arrested. Actually, I've never been arrested. I've always gotten away with it. When someone's arrested, you can either keep them in jail or you can let them go, or what are some of the options? Help me out. When you arrest a bad guy, he's not guilty until he's convicted, but what do you do with him?
Well, anyone that's taken into custody in the jail is automatically eligible for a bond within some bonding schedules. Now, there are some offenses that are not bondable.
All right, just so, pardon me for being so stupid about this. When you say bond, everyone's available, means that they can pay money, put up a hunk of money like a deposit, and saying, here, I'm going to go off and do my regular stuff, but I'm going to put down a deposit to show that I'm going to come back. And if I come back, I can get that money back, right? That's basically exactly what a bond is.
But it goes the gamut. It's cash, surety, property, or personal recognizance. And it depends now on the courts and on a bonding schedule that's provided to law enforcement.
What is personal recognizance? I've heard it all the time. Be very precise. I don't
know. Personal recognizance literally is my personal promise that I will respond to the court orders, I will respond to court dates, and there is no money attached. It is a signature and it is a personal promise to appear and conduct the business of the court.
So let's say we catch somebody. He's innocent until proven guilty, but this is the kind of guy that they had to have a manhunt for, that he was trying to leave the state. He's going to flee as soon as he gets out. And so the judge gets to set the bond, right, saying for you, bad guy, it's going to be $1 million bond. And until you can put up $1 million deposit, is a deposit kind of a good analogy? Until you can put up that money, you got to stay in jail. That's basically how it works, because if he doesn't have that skin in the game, he's going to leave.
And that's our contention, is that we feel that with the way Pretrial Services is handling their business these days, with their stated purpose is that every single criminal, it's in their manifesto, every single criminal that comes through the system should be eligible for a personal recognizance bond. It's stated in their
In whose?
This is the National Association of NAPSA, National Association of Pretrial Services Agencies. Okay.
All right. With that, tell me what Proposition 102 is, now that I understand how bonding works. What is it that you're proposing?
The original mandate of Pretrial Services was to, help people who were less fortunate than others, people who were not wealthy enough to be able to afford, typically indigent people. And it was to allow them to be able to get out of jail, first-time offenders, non-violent offenders, to allow them out of jail on their personal recognizance, that they would come back. They would do an investigation on this person and deem them a non-flight risk.
They did an investigation. Who are they?
And this is the they that we're having such a problem with, is Pretrial Services. Colorado Pretrial Services, to be specific.
I need a definition. What is Pretrial Services? Is that an agency, an organization? Is that a function? What is it?
It's an agency that's become part of the judicial system that works very, very closely, particularly with the sheriff's departments. And what they do is they interview defendants, criminal defendants, as they come through the system, and they make recommendations specifically to the judges, and the judges typically accept. So when you say the judge sets bond, quite honestly, that doesn't happen. Pretrial Services is typically giving the recommendation to the DA and to the judges. And in some counties,
the judge has the final say, does he not?
Absolutely, positively he does. But in some counties, like Larimer County, which has become kind of the poster child for Pretrial Services all across the nation, Pretrial Services are setting and actually releasing the people without them ever seeing a judge.
Okay,
and we think that's just not.
Let me bring it over here. Now, I would think that you're the lawman. You don't want to catch more bad guys than you have to. And once you catch a bad guy, you want to keep him someplace safe where you know he'll come around to trial. So I'm assuming that you've got a strong incentive to keep bad guys penned up, or to be very, very certain that they're going to come back. Otherwise, you're going to have to go out and catch them down again. So why would you be in opposition to something that says there's no personal recognizance?
Well, I'm in opposition to 102 because of public safety. We can talk all day long, and the supporters of 102 talk all day long about being tough on crime. We need to start being smart on crime, and 102 is not smart on crime, in my opinion. We have a system that works. I believe strongly that the discretion needs to be with the court based on good, valid information.
But right now, I just want to make sure I've got a solid footing. Right now, so Pretrial Services can come up and say, well, Caldara has been arrested. We think he ought to have a bond of $100,000, and we're going to recommend that to the court. The judge can say, no, I think he's such a dangerous guy, it ought to be $250,000, or I think he's okay, we'll let him out on his own personal recognizance. The judge has that final say as it is right now.
Has the discretion, that's
okay.
correct. Right.
All right. And this law 102 would change it so the judge does not have that discretion. Do I understand that?
With the exception of, all we're trying to address is that pretrial services can work all they like with first-time nonviolent offenders, criminal defendants. And we have no problem with those folks being given an opportunity to be let out on a personal recognizance bond. The problem is that the system's completely off the tracks right now. They're letting dangerous felons out. One of the things I wanted to do was, if I could real quick, is I wanted to show you the face of Pretrial Services' greatest failure, which is Sandra Lee Jacobson. Now, interestingly enough, Sheriff, the very first contact she ever had with the law was with Arapahoe County. Are you familiar with this woman?
I'm not.
Okay. This woman killed these two ladies. These were two librarians that were killed in a DUI accident on the way to DIA. This particular picture right here is the one that everybody should recognize. This was that
Freedom Cab.
Freedom Cab that was nicked by this woman on her second or third DUI after having failed time and time and time and time again with UIs, breathalyzer tests. She had scram units on her that she was cheating. She was sticking things between the units so that she wouldn't be caught drinking. She got caught using cocaine time and time again. It took the system 10 months
to get her failure of the system. Again, I need to simplify this,
okay,
because I think we can all get very confused. 102 says, and tell me if I've got this right, other than first-time, non-violent offenders, everybody has to have bond. Nobody can be put on their own personal recognizance.
That's not correct.
Okay.
The judge still has the right to do that, but what we do is we're trying to get pretrial services to kind of ratchet their very liberal social engineering project that they have going on here, which is to let everybody out on a personal recognizance bond. It's not working. It's not safe.
Be precise for me. I'm missing the precise part. If this passes, nonviolent first-time offenders can still go out on personal recognizance, yes, and everybody else?
The judge will make that decision.
But the judge makes that decision now, doesn't he?
He ultimately makes the decision, but pretrial services is in there working the system, working their agenda, and for the most part, they're letting violent criminal defendants out on personal recognizance.
Let me bring it over here. So right now, a judge is the one who's responsible whether or not I'm released on personal recognizance, despite what any recommendation is.
Yes, but it's an informed decision. And I think that's important. The other part of the of 102 that causes me some serious concern is, frankly, the people that would be